For over 60 years, the Minnesota Ballet has brought together dedication, movement, and community. More than just a ballet company, it is an experience, one that shapes people and stays with them.
I think my favorite memory that stands out is the first time I set foot into the big studio at the Depot. I was at 8 or just about 8 and had been dancing somewhere else in town and decided I hated ballet. Didn't want to do it. Tried everything to make my dad forget to take me to class. And before I quit, he said he had heard about an open class with the company that the public was invited to watch. So he took me down to the Depot. And I just remember walking into the big studio, standing at the top of the steps. And it was the first time I had ever seen professional ballet dancers. And I was just in awe. I was mesmerized. The music, the dancing, they were the most beautiful humans I'd ever seen. And he signed me up that day. And the Minnesota Ballet was a part of my life for the next, I guess, 30 years.
I walked into a studio as an awkward 13-year-old boy, not knowing what I was getting myself into. And I was immediately welcomed by everybody in the class and my teachers.
I felt like it was a supportive family that, for the most part, everybody got along and enjoyed teaming together and helping each other out and, sharing food or sharing a place to live or helping out with this or that or the other thing. I think it was a very strong team.
The dancers used to come for Sunday morning breakfast every week. And we would have pancakes and bacon or whatever they wanted. And there was a whole group of them that came, and I would repair stuff for them, sew buttons on stuff or whatever they needed. And it just became sort of a family sort of thing. And I'm still in touch with those dancers. So, it's been a very rewarding experience for me.
My first season here, my birthday was 2 weeks after the season started, and I was just turning 21. I didn't know anybody, and one of the dancers gave me a birthday cake, and the other dancer, we had this party, and just everyone was so welcoming, not just outside of the studio, but inside of the studio. I felt everyone was just so kind.
They really treated me with respect and kindness and appreciation, and that doesn't happen all the time in healthcare. It really doesn't. So it was a very special, rewarding time for me.
I think we've built a community of people, not just dancers, not just faculty, not just staff, but a whole group of people that come together every day, and I feel like they're in a safe space to freely create, to freely be themselves, and to share with one another on their level. Everyone is equal with our performances, with our classes, with our adult classes. We try to create a space for anyone and everyone who walks through our doors.
I have friends that I danced with in the school. One of them I take adult ballet with now. And two of my closest friends, I met when we danced in the company. We've been in each other's lives now for 25 plus years. And we, talk all the time, and even though we're in different parts of the country. So I think that's been really meaningful. And all of those memories kind of make up the totality of a really, really, lovely time in my life.
I just met so many wonderful people through my dancing there. Just, company members, I danced with people that came from all over the world. Some of my closest friends I met from dancing in the company that I'm still very close with today. But also just like the number of lives that you touched, so many people, people that we performed for, people that we met through touring, students, is just a really special experience to be able to sort of touch the lives of that many people.
I have students that I taught when they were kids, and now they're sending their kids here. And that is not just a one-off thing. So those ripples continue throughout the community and throughout generations, which is kind of remarkable.
I started back when I was 10, which is years and years ago. With the school was just getting started. My mom came with a newspaper article and asked, would you be interested in taking classes? And of course, I'm 10, sure. So I started then, and I stuck with it for years and years, and then moved away and got married, and then didn't really do much with it till I was in my probably early 40s, and then I was back a little bit on the board and helping with things around here. Then I was gone again for a bit, and then Isabella was born, and she was interested, and so it has become, for the last as many years as she's been involved, part of my world again too. Mm-hmm. When we were all dancing, there was the company, and we were in the company at the time, and everybody that was in the company was a Duluth girl. There was nobody from anywhere else except Duluth. It was, we came up through the school, and then they started the company, and we were all dancers. So now to see the talent that comes, it's just amazing to me that we've gone from where we started to where we are now with the quality of dancers, and it's just fabulous.
I came to Duluth to train at the ballet and pursuing a dance career, and I danced and taught and choreographed for 14 years, but I've never left the community. I've been here since 97, and like I said, I met my wife here, and we have 2 kids together, and we still live here.
I think what really stands out is thinking back all the students' lives that you've touched in that chapter, and just to know you were a part of their life, they were a part of mine, and still seeing them around the community and their families too, not just the students.
The school of the Minnesota Ballet has done so much to raise young artists who are now well into adulthood. So it's just created like a culture of dance and art in the area that would not exist for not the Minnesota Ballet.
It's an amazing thing to give children an opportunity to express themselves physically. We are humans that are built to move, and we have an opportunity to give that opportunity to those kids. And I mean, anybody who goes and watches little kids in class, how can you not think that's the most amazing thing in the world?
Out of all the people that study ballet, very few go on to become professionals, but for all of them, it teaches so much. I know so many people today who study dance, or people who were students who have gone on to do just incredible things, because, ballet doesn't just teach you how to do ballet. It teaches you, discipline, dedication, time management, things that, will just serve you well no matter what you do in life. So,
I mean, it's very unique in a city this size to be having a professional ballet company. I think that's really special. I think it's really special that they offer a ballet school, ballet academy that starts when their children are very young, and then students can grow and even audition and become part of the company.
I would say that getting to learn from your idols and then the opportunity to dance with them it's such a unique experience. I don't think everybody gets that opportunity. You get to learn from all these people that you idolize and have taught you so many lessons, not just in dance. And so to be able to share the stage with them eventually is probably the coolest part about that.
I grew up in a school that was attached to a professional company, and that inspired me. And so seeing the legacy of the dancers before me and kind of holding that honor and continuing it on was really special. And so now to be able to be a part of a legacy with Minnesota Ballet is really special. And I hope to honor the dancers that came before me and the organization that exists and inspire those who are to come.
My sister and I came up in August of 2003 for my parents to meet with Alan and Robert and kind of discuss logistics of how we were going to make this work. And at that time, the ballet was getting ready to premiere Cinderella in the fall. And Ann Gumpper was in our 8-story studio in the Grain Exchange at the time. They had pulled the floor up, and she was painting by hand the backdrops. And this space was so amazing because we were up on the balcony and we just stood for like an hour and watched her create this by hand. And she's just such an artist, and to see kind of the background of what makes a ballet happen. And we'd come from a little studio, so this was like, oh my gosh, this is so legitimate. This is so cool. And yeah, it really just, I got so excited to be part of whatever this was going to be.
I've designed for a lot of companies around town, theatrical companies, and Most of the scenery that I do is ephemeral, meaning that we have the show, we open the show to great fanfare, we have a run, we close the show, we strike the set, which means we tear it down and take it apart and often throw it away. And so when I started designing for the ballet, and they kept the shows for 10 and 11 years, and sometimes even longer, and would tour them to different communities, I realized that that art had a life beyond just the period of time that I saw it in Duluth.
I think a lot of people and a lot of like community would think of ballet as sort of like a very rigid art form, but actually it has to be very dynamic in how it changes to keep up with life and a changing world, you know?
I think we keep reinventing ourselves. I think each season we try to bring something a little bit new. We'll always bring the joy of Nutcracker, but each season, I feel like in my 4 seasons here, they've each felt a little bit different, and I think that's really important as ballet companies move forward. How can we reinvent something that's been so special for so long, and how can we continue to draw audiences in and make it feel relatable and make it feel approachable by people who've maybe never seen ballet before?
Over the course of 60 years, like, our world has changed and life has changed, and the ballet has this really interesting responsibility to like honor the present, you know, showing art that reflects what is happening and what's important in our society, but also tying in some sense of tradition, because a lot of classical ballets have deep historical roots. So you're sort of pulling from the past. So I think the ballet has this really interesting role where it has to hold up tradition, but also honor where we're going, like as a society, or where we should be going, you know?
The Minnesota Ballet has impacted this community so much. Anytime you bring an art form and you bring people together and they can experience joy at the same time or emotions all at the same time, that is good. And then we bring dancers from all over and they bring all their experiences to this community. And a lot of the dancers participate in this community, even outside the dance world. So their youth and their energy impacts this community.
I feel that Duluth really values person-to-person connection, and I feel that how we reach out with our community is through outreach, going out and doing events in the city, really just staying connected and making sure we know the people, not just dancing on a stage and leaving.
I have the special privilege of also leading all the outreaches. So each year we try to go to several elementary schools and get kids excited about not just dance, but arts and movement in general. And that's such a privilege. And it is one of my favorite parts of my job.
At a public school outreach, I believe about 2 years ago, a younger male student came up to me and asked me if boys do ballet. And I just remember getting to sit and talk with him and just watching his eyes glow with excitement and seeing that he could do it and knowing that it's something that was in his reach.
So Minnesota Ballet will also go to Essentia. We'll perform in the atrium. So healthcare workers, which are so important to the city, they can take a second on their lunch break or if they're just passing by to kind of stop and enjoy the art of live dance. And then we will also make a trip up to the pediatric floor. And this part of the outreach is so special to me. It gives us an opportunity to perform for the kids and the families that might not be able to leave the hospital at that time. And we can bring a little joy, a little escape, a little reprieve from whatever they're going through and bring a smile to their faces. I love the pediatric floor outreaches. They mean a lot to me.
One of the things that has really shaped me and my experience here is our adaptive dance program. I was able to start volunteering with it as a high schooler, and I developed some relationships with some of the dancers that are still in our ABLE program now, and it's just been so wonderful to grow with them and work with them and bring in new faces and just show what a welcoming space this can be and show that ballet really is for anybody, and just to see how those dancers have been incorporated over 3 productions now of Nutcracker, and have just really become part of us and what we do, has just been a really beautiful and inclusive thing.
I feel really proud of the Minnesota Ballet. I feel really delighted to have been invited to be a part of that kind of ongoing family. I know people that have been involved for decades, and I feel like Minnesota Ballet has invited so many people in to be part of that mission, and what a delight to have been part of that and the development of that. I know when Duluth Ballet first started, there was no way they could have afforded a big show, even professional dancers. But to watch them go from that seed of a ballet company to what it is now, with professional dancers who come from all over the country, and a regular discipline class and beautiful productions. I'm so impressed that Duluth has supported that kind of arts organization.
Duluth Ballet was had a lot of funding from National Endowment for the Arts when I initially became exposed to it. And very shortly after that, a lot of the funding was slashed around the country. So Duluth Ballet was going through the same kind of transition the entire city was, with the loss of the iron industry. And so it was a really tough time. But there again, it was a welcoming environment. No matter how hard things got, it was a place where you could go as a young person and express yourself. And you left every day. Of course, at 13, you don't think about that, but you leave every day feeling like you've accomplished something. That's an incredible legacy for an organization to be able to do that through the difficult times that this city has gone through in particular.
We mostly used things that we had and sort of rejuvenated them because we were poor. So they've been through so much, so many ups and downs, and who would have ever thought that they would last for 60 years?
There are so many ballet companies that have closed, and we have been here for 60 years. And it is truly a treasure to this community, truly a treasure.
To see that the community and the board of directors and the people in charge kept it going through huge changes in our environment, in our community, in what people see as dance, I think. I mean, if you look at 60 years as a huge time.
And I think it's just providing such an important service that is so unique to like this geography that like it has to keep going because it's a very important thing for our culture and community.
Ballet companies are never smooth sailing ships, but it's been here. And how many lives has it changed? It's pretty amazing.
We've had such talented choreographers and such talented artistic directors that all brought to this community their own idea of what ballet should be. But I've never seen someone who's the first time they've seen it not been moved by it. And I think how wonderful, how special is that dance can move someone.
What the Minnesota Ballet has built goes beyond the stage. Past, present, and future, its impact continues to live on in the students, the artists, the audiences, and in every life it inspires.